Welcome to Worlds Collide, a wrestling card podcast for wrestling fans by wrestling fans, featuring Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com.
This is like a stock market.
And Zhan Morning from Wrestling with Cards on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer, I'm just posing the question. Join them as they navigate the world of wrestling cards, helping you build a bigger and better collection and making some money along the way. What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of the Worlds Collide Wrestling Card Podcast. That's right, we're talking wrestling cards today. You know, last couple episodes we've bounced around. Actually, maybe I'll take a little bit of a sidestep here. The cards we're talking about today, are they cards? We just had this discussion not too long ago about what are cards, what are not. And today we're going to be talking about the Quaker Dipps WWF cards. And we had somebody actually request this. I brought the card to talk about today, this Ultimate Warrior. This is the 89 version. Yeah. And I got this and somebody was like, oh, you guys should do a show on that. So I was like, all right, screenshot added to the notes. Here we are.
Done.
So we're going to talk a little bit about this today. And let's start off with what it is. It's a Canadian release to my knowledge. It came on the back panels of the Quaker Dip granola bars, which you can actually still buy at the store today. And I used to love eating these things when I was a kid, but I up until, I really got into the hobby, 4 or 5 years ago or whatever, I didn't even know these things existed. I ended up buying a lot from somebody. Forgive me for not giving you the proper credit. I don't remember. And it had the 89, I think it was the 89 Hogan and the 89 Rockers in it. And I was like, what is this? So I started doing research, and then that led me down the whole rabbit hole of food issue products. And we've already talked kind of ad nauseum about that. But these are hand cut, as you can see. Like this one it's not cut very well. And there's a bio on the back, and you had to cut these out of the back panel, almost like, if you are familiar with the thing that I relate to it the most is, if you go in a convenience store during the junk wax era and you saw some boxes of baseball cards and the packs were gone, you could take the box and flip it over and it had the cards on the bottom you could cut out. And I would always ask the clerk if I could have the box, and they just give it to me. And then I cut those out and put them with everything else. Same thing with this. You can find, I've seen 2 actual slabbed panels. So I think that's interesting. But these are so hard to find. Like you go out on eBay or any place else, and I'm not even talking about the price. It could be $3, it could be $300. You just do not see these Quaker Dip cards pop up very much. And I just wonder, like, are people unaware of these? Is there no market for them? Are they actually really that rare? So we'll talk about that. But what's your just general observation of these sets overall?
Well, I mean, they're a typical food issue as far as I'm concerned. I mean, they did a lot of crazy, and they still do it to this day. I mean, they do a lot of crazy stuff with wrestling cards and trading cards, collectibles as a whole. They tie in with food issues all the time. So whether it be like Mother's Cookies and the old Nolan Ryan Mother's Cookies type stuff, and whether it be these things with the granola bars, they had like stuff from Hostess. They've had stuff for Doritos. They've had they even had little tiny mini cards at one point in time for Stridex medicated, medicated acne pads kind of thing,
I remember seeing the ads for those.
Yeah, well, Stridex was a big, big sponsor for WWF back in the day. So that's not surprising they had some kind of tie-in, Doritos chips, just lots of, we go ice cream. There's so many different types of food related type things. So is it surprising to me to see something like this? No. But like most food issue type stuff, I think it goes under the radar for the general population of collectors out there. A lot of collectors are strictly, Tops, Fleer, Upper Deck.
Pack pulled has to be legit, pulled.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a huge market out there, I think, that's being missed from collectors of really cool, whether you want to call it, like these are called like novelty type items. With these food tie-ins. But I think that you and I had a conversation about this off air at some point about are these really considered cards? Here's a fun fact about these. In 1988, the first release that came out in 88 is a 18 card set. These were actually numbered on them, whereas the 89s don't have numbering on them.
Yeah, no number on this.
Yeah, and that card back you were showing, they should be written in French and English.
Yep.
On the box themselves, by the way, in 88, the boxes would say on the front, 3 free WWF cards, along with a contest for a chance to win a trip to WrestleMania 5. So are they trading cards?
Yeah, in their minds, if it says trading cards, I think it's trading cards.
Well, and that's kind of where we had that conversation not too long ago. We talked about paper cards and things like that. But even the front of the magazine refers to them, cut them and trade them. Your trading cards kind of thing. They refer to them as cards.
Right.
You had the in the back, you can cut them out. It's like that. There was the 88 said had an offer for what's called a pocket scrapbook. Where you can actually save all 18 of your trading cards. It says save all 18 WWF Superstar trading cards. It even says that on, and you can put that in the scrapbook. So, you go to WTC and you can check out the page. We have links for you can see all the covers, who came on the Honey and Oats, brand, who came out the chocolate chip brand, the caramel nut brand, the peanut butter brand, the chocolate, caramel nut. They had different, flavors, and each flavor had their different cards, and you can see which ones came to which one. But it's a fun set. A lot of people don't know about it. Again, like most food issues, they don't even know about them.
I think for the 88 set, the key card, they're all rare. They're all hard to find. But I think the key cards that come off the top of my head are Ultimate Warrior, because that's 88. So that's even before, 89, which a lot of people consider his rookie stuff. And then I believe Bam Bam Bigelow, this may be one of his firsts as well.
I would agree. I believe it's also one of his first. Yeah.
So that's kind of the two key cards out of that. And then moving on to the 1989, I believe it was 18 cards as well again, right?
I believe so. I'm not entirely sure. Let me double check. I have a great website to use for that.
I'm pretty sure they kept the same kind of.
It's an 18 card set. Yeah.
Same concept, 3 cards on the back per
and
panel.
And the same thing. Boxes will tell you, 3 free WWF cards on them. And it had I think for a mail-in for a collector poster that as well.
Yep. And I've actually seen. I think there's one right now available on eBay. One of the posters. So I've never seen one of the scrapbooks, but I have seen the posters on eBay, and these were floating around for a while. Like the lower tier talent or mid card talent, there were some of these floating around for a while at reasonable prices. They're finally gone, and I haven't seen any pop up since, be it graded ones or ungraded. So just once again, interesting.
In the when they weren't desirable as a whole, you still were having a difficult time finding Hogan and Andre and Warrior, all your mainstream, top tier type talent. And you can still find stuff like the Bushwhackers and Tito Santana and Hacksaw and Hillbilly Jim every once in a while, but they were still fairly difficult to come by. But those are the ones that would pop up more often. You'd find those. And now they're just not. I think between you and I think, Mike Summer, Wax Pack Hero, shout out to him. I think, he really loved those. And, he started collecting all that stuff.
That's actually where I got this Warrior. It was a duplicate, and really was the main one that I had in the set that I was interested in. I think the key card in this 89 set for me, you can obviously, I'm a huge Warrior fan. Like, I just wanted this because it's Warrior. But I think the Rockers, like, again, that's people look at that 89-90 set as being their quote rookie cards. And, here you have, and what's funny is it's the same image, I believe, that's used on those classic cards. The one where I think it's Sean's over the shoulder of Marty Jannetty.
It is,
and it's the exact same image, just it's shorter. It's like compact.
Yeah, it's like they put him in it's almost like from Superman. They put him in that prison. Pretty shoved them all in there. Yeah, but yeah, they I think it's the same image from the same photo shoot, but it's the same year. So 89. There's an 89 version of Classic, aka Good Times, whatever. That's floating around. So that's right around the era and the year of like their quote unquote rookie or first appearance type stuff. So that's a key card from that set, I think, too. But anything from that, 88, 89, that's
the Hogan card, I've got that too, and it's great.
Yeah. I mean, those are classic shots at that point in time anyway. So, having Andre in your sets, and then I think there's a Jake the Snake in that as well. And Demolition for me, I think they're in both sets. I love it. I'm a big Demolition fan. So,
And for me, like on this Rockers thing, or like going back to the 88 Warrior, I'm not trying to be some elitist here, because we always preach for people like, you know, base cards matter, one of ones matter, autograph, like all this stuff matters. But when I look at, like, let's take the Rockers, for example, I've got the same image on an 89, a 90, and then this card.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I went with this card over the other ones as like the on my collecting pyramid, if that makes sense. Like I would prioritize this because you just don't see it pop up. It's the same image, it's the same year, just a little bit more rare. And I know a lot of people do that, but that was just kind of my thought process of why I'm continuing to hang on to my Rockers 89 card when I've sold a lot of my 90 classic of the same image.
I mean, you can compartmentalize, or how you call it, you can segment it into certain groups if you want to, as far as like what's important to you from, you know, that particular set of years, you know, that year of 89. So if the Quaker Dipps is more important to you and that fits on top of your list of that particular, it doesn't, there's no wrong or right way to that. So,
right.
But it makes sense. I mean, it's all part of the same thing. It's same, like you said, same image, but
it's just crazy how much harder these are to find.
Yeah,
I just don't.
It's a fun set, though. I mean, it's a fun, not often talked about card set that is just becoming increasingly more difficult to come by. I think between you and Mike, you guys might have the market cornered for all I know.
Well, I only have like 3 or 4 cards, so I think Mike probably has it cornered then.
Yeah, I mean, I think he even has quantity on some of those. He bought an amazing collection not too long ago and showcased him on one of his episodes that he did. Which, if you guys haven't go check that out, you know, go check out Mike Summer, Wax Pack Hero, Wax Pack Hero. I got 2 Wax Pack guys. I got to make sure I get them right. But both great names. And check out his stuff. And I think he breaks down the whole set. I think he did a blog on it. I'm not mistaken. That's what it was, a blog.
I think so. He's talked about him numerous times, though, and he's a set collector guy, and this is a smaller set. He's 18 cards. I mean, that's we've talked about how kind of
18 difficult cards to find, though. That might as well be a 300 card set, for crying out loud.
It's a great point, and it's going to cost you more than a 300 card set probably at this point, because they're just so hard to find. I think I think these are going to kind of gain some steam, but I also at the same time think they're so hard to find, and they're kind of out of the mindset of the typical collector. Like, people that want these are going to have to be super fans of certain talents, super set collectors, super collectors of you know, something, an era, whatever, to be able to.
Because of that reason, though, by the way, sorry to interrupt that reason. I think I don't think that these card sets will ever become a level of you know, I'm not going to equate it to Wrestling All-Stars like that, but it won't become equated to something as meaningful and as big as impactful as that, because we don't have a lot.
No,
other than the Warrior, the set's going to be predominantly chased after because you want the earliest version of Warrior, whether you're a player collector in that sense or a set collector and have to have the first of that, or the Rockers. Everything else is just cool, nostalgic type of fun to get. Do you see the set growing to a level where it ends up being, or both those sets growing to a level where it becomes like, is it $1,000 set?
Could be. It's one of those things that's so rare. It's not like Rack's roast beef rare. It's not even close to that. But it's not like Wrestling All-Stars either, where you can go out and find pretty much any Wrestling All-Stars card you want any given day. Now, it might be a beat-up copy. It might be a really high-price graded copy. But the fact is, you can go out and find them. And you just can't go out and find these. What that markets to, you're right. I don't think it's going to get to like this upper echelon of like the top sets of all time. But for like diehard collectors, super collectors, like, you're going to have to try to have these items in your collection. And I'm always a sucker for food issue stuff as it is. So I always love talking about these, and I just don't think enough people know about them. But another interesting thing is, you would think that if there was that many of them available, they would have surfaced by now. We had this whole glut of, well, there's this palette of these 97 stickers in Egypt, and I just discovered all of these ice cream bar cards that from this guy that's had them for 20 years. All of these things started surfacing during the kind of hobby pandemic boom that we saw within wrestling. And it's still to this day, we're seeing stuff come out that we thought there wasn't very many of, and all of a sudden there's starting to be more of. But with this one, not so much. It was
I
like
think that's the case with most food issue type stuff, though. Really, for generally speaking, there's some exceptions,
it's
obviously.
very picky, because another one I can compare with this is the WWF sour gums. They're
Hmm.
paper and they were in the wrapper, and I used to get them when I was a kid, and luckily I found some of them that I was able to keep and then sell the ones I didn't want. But that's another thing. It took me forever to try to find these things. They
Because
just
most of that
don't.
stuff was trashed.
Right,
I
right.
mean, yeah, I opened the box, I ate my granola bar, the rest went to
Throw it away.
recycle.
Yep. Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's interesting though, like how many of the ice cream bar cards, same concept.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
even later ice cream bar cards that like
It's actually the newer. Chuckster and I talked about this not too long ago, a few months back, when we're discussing, we're redoing some images for the ice cream bars, and it's harder to find the more recent ice cream bar stuff than it is to find the
yeah,
earlier stuff. You can find more of the stuff from 88 through like 91-ish time frame, 92-ish. Once you start getting in the night, like into the late 90s, even the early 2000s, when they started putting that stuff, they're harder to find
right,
for whatever reason, whether it's because they produce less, people didn't care as much and threw them away. Who knows? I mean, they just become harder to find. That's what kind of makes these Quaker Dip ones sort of an anomaly there, because it's older stuff. You think, okay, well, older stuff, it should be more to find. But no, maybe it's just because people threw most of that stuff away. I mean, it's just it was cardboard to them. That's all it was, just part of the packaging. Why should I cut them out? It's not like buying an action figure that has a cutout on the back of it. You're already buying something that's already a collectible.
right,
And then so now I get two for the price of one. I'm getting my action figure and I'm a trading card guy. So that's why I get torn between like these packages that have cards. I'm like, I don't want the figure, I want the card.
right,
I also don't want to take the package apart because so it's that kind of stuff back then. I think people just didn't care. It wasn't it's food issued in the late 80s, and they just throw that stuff away.
right. Yeah, it's one of those things like where you see VHS or DVDs or video games or comic book, like the stuff that's graded that is still sealed, that was
Mm-hmm.
meant to be opened, kind of like these were, they were on a package. They were meant to
Yep.
just kind of, you know I guess be disposable, maybe. That like maybe they just kind of put them on there for kids as an enticing thing to say, oh, look at that package on the shelf,
Oh yeah.
mom, dad, I want that because it's got Hogan on it. And then they
Yep.
look at it and then maybe they just never, gets thrown away. Good point.
Yeah, never know. So, I mean, it's just clearly they're becoming harder to find. And you combine that with already a wrestling, the niche of wrestling trading cards itself, or wrestling hobby itself. Wrestling collectors seem to be a bit more passionate about their hobby. So they don't want to let those things go.
Right.
So when they do have them, you're less likely to find them out in the wild. And when you have something that's already scarce like this, it's a combination, maybe because of what we just talked about, things being thrown away, in addition to collectors who already have them are not making them available.
Right.
So it's just it's a cool little fun couple of card sets. And we can talk about dozens and dozens and dozens of other ones that are just equally as cool, whether because it's a food issue or some sort of weird tie-in. For all I know, maybe they made stuff with Trojan condoms back in the day. I have no idea. And it's like,
Actually, I heard recently that they actually reached out to WCW to do a sponsorship for something, and they like had to. It was right during that big boom era, and they had to turn them down because I guess Turner executives thought it was going to be too risque for their property.
It's funny that someone would say that, because for years I used to make that joke. Like, if I had been in charge of TNA impacts like that, I mean, the damn name speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's true.
Impact condoms.
All right. Well, if you guys want more information on this set, make sure to check out WrestlingTradingCards.com, and you can find the complete checklist and any additional information, which will then help you go to eBay or go to Macari or go to your Facebook Marketplace, like wherever it is you look for stuff. Like use this website and use this checklist to go find these things. But I will say,
and images for them all too, so you can have at least an idea what they look like.
yeah, and good luck finding them. That's my parting words on that. Tony, let everybody know where they can find you. Obviously, we just talked about WrestlingTradingCards.com.
That's it, man. All of our social media handles in the bottom of every single page. Feel free to reach out to us. Celebrating over 20 years now of providing information and checklists. Pretty proud of that. Having all the major grading companies using us during their grading process to help validate and authenticate stuff during the researching part of their grading process. So I'm very happy about that. We'll continue to keep doing that. And then I've also got the store here in Phoenix, Arizona. I got the Wrestling Guy Store PHX. You can go to WGSPHX.com or go Wrestling Guy Store PHX.com. It'll redirect you to the same place. So got people coming in, coming in to meet their fans, talent. Got lots of selection of action figures, trading cards, T-shirts, magazines, 8x10s, all kinds of stuff. So check us out. And that's it. What about you? Are you anywhere on the internet?
All over the place. Wrestling with Cards on YouTube, Wrestling with Cards, the solo podcast, at Zhan Morning on all social platforms, and of course, right here on the best of the worst wrestling card podcast. Oh, wait, there's not that many out there, so we must be like way bottom of the barrel.
That's right. We are the silver medal of of podcasting for wrestling cards. Nobody finished last ahead of us.
Great point. Thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe to this wherever you're listening to this. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button as well. More importantly, share this with a friend, a family member. Tell a wrestling card collector, a wrestling fan that doesn't collect. Get them into collecting. Share this with anybody that's into any kind of collectibles or wrestling talk. Just broadens the audience, broadens the community, gets more people involved, and just having more fun overall.
Yeah, and there's only one reason we do that, though.
What would that be? I wouldn't know why.
Oh, it's because wrestling cards rule, brother.
Goodbye.